I'm just going to throw this one out there because I feel like this would be more of in seeing this, what I'm about to say, it will speak of a consolidation of allegiance between Irish people, right? Because at the moment there's a large portion of Irish people who are aligned in what they're seeing as something to be opposed, right? But where we tend to falter is where we align based on what we want to see replace this thing, right? The system or the new mythology that we wish to birth from ourselves, we're not really aligned in that totally, right? If that is even possible. But we're not aligned in that enough to see concrete examples of it, really, right? In terms of building an opposing system that can combat the one that is dominant now. So I think when you begin to see groups or individuals begin to band together and begin to band their, not just wealth, right, but their living quarters together, when they begin to develop little societies, little communities, right, then the allegiance will go from an intellectual and a moral one into a physical one, a communal one, right, where you're beginning to see the birth of a new Irish culture, a true Irish culture. And what I mean by true is that it's not a culture that will be imposed onto the Irish people. It is one that is just flowing out of the Irish people based on a discontent with the system that is in place at the moment, but also based on the realization that there is something, in order for something new to grow, you need fertilizer, and that fertilizer will be the death and the burial of what has come before, right? While also retaining or conserving, if you want, right? Conserving elements of it that are aligned with Irish people's nature and temperament and their morality and their view of what law is and what is common and decent and what is abuse of power and what is not, right? So I think that's what the next step will be, because ultimately it took generations to get into this mess, right? That does not mean that there's going to be a mirror space of time or span of time that will be needed or required for us to get back out of this mess. But it may be a case that it is, and it is, of course, it's always going to be, it's a generational assertiveness of a new Irish spirit and a new Irish way of wanting to live in Ireland as Irish people, right? And see where that leads us, right? There's no room for final answers on any of these things because there's never been a final answer. All perspectives, all worldviews, all paradigms, all religions, they all fall and crumble over time, right? To be replaced with something new, and that new thing is like a shot of adrenaline into people, right? It's reinvigorating to a people because it's coming out of them people. It's a new age, and there's new moods and tendencies and new even types of people that are going to dominate a new age and bring it in and allow and birth it, midwife the new age, right? Whatever that looks like for the Irish people. So I think when you start seeing people align their lives, not just their minds, in a more everyday way, I think that'll be the next step towards, or that will be the next step that will demonstrate a desire from Irish people to band together truly, right? And look, I think Irish people have had their political perspective tainted maybe by the fact that we were largely a theocratic society in the 20th century, right? You can quibble with that if you want, right? But you can't deny the fact that we were dominantly religious-based and religious-oriented, right? Which came with a strict rules of the game that we play as Roman Catholics in Ireland, right? But we're after moving away from that. And I don't think going back to that to try and resuscitate that is the way forward. I don't think it's the way forward at all. Because if it was robust enough and it was powerful enough and assertive enough and dynamic enough, it would have withstood the emptiness of modern society. It would have, like a fly on the shoulder, it would have just brushed it off, right? But it didn't. It crumbled, it fell apart, and it's dead, right? And we make our peace with that. And out of the ashes, we build our castles with these things, right? So we take what's useful from the dying age, we discard the rest of it, and then we build for the future. And that's fascinating stuff. That's beautiful stuff. And that's where we are. But we are fundamentally, with the exception of the 20th century, right? Or other times even, right? But we are fundamentally, politically, very liberal people. We're very, very liberal people by nature. We allow for all sorts of different perspectives and challenges. We laugh at things we disagree with. We don't strike out wanting to kill everything that's opposed to the way we see things. We accept people largely based on whatever way they present themselves to us, as long as they're not directly dangerous, right? They might be intellectually dangerous, but we kind of allow for that, right? Because we're very, very liberal people. But when that liberalism becomes consolidated into a clear system and is used as a weapon against us, right? You can be liberal so long as your liberalism precludes your own organic development of what you want to be, what new phase you want the Irish people to be, what way you want them to be in this new age, right? What morality, what tendencies, what virtues you wish them to hold up in this new age. Right? So as long as you preclude that out of your liberalism, then cool stuff, right? But there will come a point in time where you need to defend that. Because if it's truly something that you value, you have to fight to protect and defend that. And there's no other way around that. And that could be, who knows, right? There's a bit of a green light being given now with Micheál Martin's statements on the far right, right? That maybe it's a term thrown around too loosely, and maybe people shouldn't be as easy boxing, or people shouldn't be categorizing people or views in such a dismissive way, right? Or it's trying to apply a negative connotation to certain views. Maybe we won't be doing that anymore. There's a green light for people. That's a green light, which whispers of a change, right? It's a change. And that's a beautiful thing. And we will see what happens, right? But always understand as well that it would be naive and negligent to allow one man or one woman or one group to determine the flavour of Irishness over the next few generations. We all have our input in this. We all have something to say around this, right? We all have something to add to this battle that's going on for the very heart of Irish people. What it's going to say about you if you are an Irish person, and what you're going to contribute back to the well of Irishness, right? There's a blank canvas being drawn or being presented to us in this new age, and we can colour it. Not willy-nilly, right? But there's limits and boundaries, of course there is. But we can colour it in our own particular hues. And that's something that we have to add, right? Individual by individual, we say our piece, we think about things, we form our opinions on it. We connect with ourselves, we understand a little bit about ourselves. What do we value? Why? Where did that come from? Does it matter, right? Is that the road I'll walk down, where I try and find the very, very source of where I come from? Off you go, fair enough, beautiful. We'll all follow our own little roads, right? But we'll all pick up things along the way that we can add back to the pool of Irishness in sort of a reciprocal loop, right? We add back, we take from. Okay? Reinvigoration, a resuscitation of, call it what you want, right? The Irish deity, the Irish God, right? Our Irish guardian angel, the Irish essence, the energy of Irish, the nyart, right? The power that underpins all things in this life. Our own particular spin on it, right? Whatever way you want to colour it, or whatever way you want to call it. That's what's on the line here. The very heart and soul and nature of what it is, what Irishness will mean and will continue to mean. Ever changing and dynamic as ages allow for it, right? Or that as ages demand from it even. So that's where we are, and I think these are just great times to be alive. And for everyone who's like plugged into this stuff, this is great stuff. Like, this is absolute times that will live on for many, many, many years, right? So long as there's Irish people to tell the story in the future. And that is That is the mission, right? That is the challenge, to guarantee that there is going to be. In whatever way you can add to that battle, add to it.